Okay, hello and welcome to this live stream on replacing files in Drupal, because believe it or not, it's actually pretty difficult to replace files. And what I'm going to do now is show you first what happens when you try and replace an actual file. And then I will give you two options, or two modules that can help you replace files. But let's first talk about the problem. Okay, so let me just pop this thing back in. And what I'll do is, let's go to this Drupal site. And here I've got a stock standard Drupal site, nothing fancy. The only thing I've done is I've installed, I think, the media module, and that's about it. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to, no, I haven't installed the media module. So let me go ahead and install it. So let's go ahead and install media. Now, for people who don't know, the media module is just a fieldable entity in Drupal with a file or image field. And instead of using an image field or a file field on an actual content type, it is now recommended that you use the media module and instead you reference these media entities, because these media entities can be reused. So anyway, I've got a whole bunch of videos on the channel about media. Check them out. But what we'll do now is I've gone ahead and installed the media module, and then you get this nice little media page where you can create your media assets. So if we click on add media, click on document, and what I'll do is I've got these files here. And let's just imagine we have this user document, and take note, okay, of the file names. So version 1, let's chuck in here version 1. And then we click on save. Okay, so far so good. We haven't done anything groundbreaking at this point. If we click on the file and then go into the media entity, and then we click on the actual URL to the direct path, it opens up this PDF in a PDF viewer. Now, if you're using Chrome, you will probably view this PDF differently. I'm using Firefox, and every browser renders a PDF differently. But most importantly, take note of this path, okay, up the top here. We have sites default /files, which is just standard Drupal stuff that can be configured. And then we have the year, month, and then we have the file name. Take note of the file name. Can I zoom that in? No, I really can't. So anyway, take note of the file name, which is user-document.pdf. Okay. Now, an editor might grab this file, chuck it into a email newsletter, and send it off to a whole bunch of people. And then what happens when they want to replace this file at this exact URL so that it is pointing to the 2021-03/user-document.pdf? Well, if you are a user of Drupal, I don't want to say beginner user because it's caught me, and you come along here and you're like, okay, here's the file. Let me just go ahead here, remove, let me grab, where's my files? Let me grab version 2. Okay, chuck in version 2, the file name's the same. Oh, look what's happened, okay? It's now put in a _0. If we click on save, okay, it's now chucked in an _0. We click on it, and now the path has changed. Yes, the file has changed. We can see now version 2 because before it was version 1. But the path has changed. Now this is a problem because if you were linking directly to this PDF, now the URLs have changed. Now, I'm not going to go into details on how Drupal handles deleting of old files that aren't used anymore, because it kind of does funny things where it actually marks a file for deletion, then 6 hours later, it then deletes it when a cron runs. I do not want to cover that because there's a lot of discussion about that, you know, files just disappearing and things like that. What I want to show you now is how to replace the original file so that the path always stays the same. And there are two modules we will look at. So let's close this and let's check out the first module. And the first module is media entity file replace. Because this module, as the name suggests, works with the media entity. And it's actually pretty easy to set up and it's pretty easy to use. So let's go ahead and set it up now. Of course, I'm using Composer, as you should. And let me go into my terminal. Oh, let me clean this up. Apologies for that. Looked a bit. Let's go back. All right. So if I type in Composer, require Drupal / media _ entity _ file _ replace. Oh, okay. We get this error. Now, if you are using Drupal 9, which you should be, because the upgrade between 8 and 9 is pretty easy. Touch wood. It should be. You will get this error. And what you need to do is you do need to specify an actual version. And the reason for that is because this isn't considered a stable release if we scroll down here. Now, I'm not going to go into great depths on why that happens, but I'll just quickly show you. I think I know what it is. In Drupal 9, in the actual composer.json, they changed this minimum stability. So before, if you look in your older versions of Drupal, or your older version, like say Drupal version 8 of the composer file, that the composer JSON that gets generated, this minimum stability is often set to dev. Now, because it's set to stable, it's going to automatically look for a stable version. If we look here, there is no stable version. The fact that this is yellow means that it's not considered stable. So there's two options, okay? One option, now I don't want this to turn into a whole composer thing. One option is to change this minimum stability to dev. I'm not going to do that. Can't be bothered. Another thing which I'm going to do, let me just jump out of that. Let's clear this so it pops back to the top. What we can do is specify the version. So let's go back. Let's now specify the actual version. And this works. Now, don't worry about this stuff. That's because I'm running Composer 2, and then it automatically downloads. And did you notice how fast that is? Composer 2 is absolutely amazing. And also, it's cached because I did test this out beforehand. But still, Composer version 2 is wickedly fast. So if you haven't used it, use it. And it works very well for Drupal 9. Okay, so that's the only first thing to be aware of. So we've done that. And let's go into our site. Let's go to extend and then search for media. And then we will get this media file entity replace. That is a mouthful, I must admit. So click on install, give it a second or 2 or 3. I just realized that Composer was faster than actually installing the module. Amazing. Amazing. Okay. So once the module is installed, go to structure. But before we do that, if you go to a media asset and let's edit one. Okay. Okay. This one actually worked. Okay. You'll notice that the actual upload area changed. And now you have this file replace. Now, one thing that caught me off guard when I started using this module is this is all powered by, so just go to structure, media types, document, and let's just go to document because we're using document, then go manage form display. And that is not it. Where is that? Let me just quickly do a drush CR as I usually do. Give that a second. Sometimes you just need to... Okay, all right. Here we have this file replace. Now, let me just open this up into a new window. So this is document, yes. And we come along here. Okay. We can see that now it looks a little different. After I cleared the cache, it's now back to the original. It's back to the original look and feel. We need to use this replace file widget and simply move it into just below document, for example. And then if we edit And I think I swallowed a fly just now. A little bug just came in. Anyway, excuse me. And now this file replace looks a little different. So if you come to any of your existing file entities and they don't quite look the same, all you need to do is come along here and then go to edit, manage form display. This is on the image row, and then just simply move this file replace and enable it because currently it is disabled. Okay. So now let's test this out. Let's go to content, media, and what I've got now is let's create another document. And I do have, no, that's not it. Where is my, no, that's not it. Ah, there it is. Finally got it. Okay. So I've got another set of documents, and this is called website proposal. Amazing. I just created some of these dummy PDFs to explain the process. And you can see here, website proposal, nice green background, version 1. So let's just assume we want to upload this version 1. Okay. Chuck it in there. Click on save and go back into it. Let's open it up and we have version 1. Okay. So far, so good. And most importantly, the path to this is website-proposal.pdf. Now, you can change this part where it specifies the year and date. That can be changed on the actual file field. And now, let's go and replace it. So you'll notice that we have now this replace file section. And here is version 2. Website proposal version 2 with a nice, what is that, a purple-ish type of color? I don't know, I just chose it in the tool that I was using. And then we have checked rewrite original file. We hit save and it's been saved. So far, so good. Let's go back into website proposal and we click on it. The path hasn't changed, which is great, but it's still pointing to the old version. Why is that? Well, this is just the browser caching it. Okay, so you don't have to worry about it. Just do a hard refresh, and then you get version 2. So what's that? I'm looking at my keyboard. That is Command Shift R on the Mac, Control F5. Control F5? Yeah, Control F5 on Windows. And now we were able to replace the file instead of overriding it. Or sorry, instead of creating a new version and Drupal will automatically append a, _1, _2, _3, and whatever. Now, there's one thing to be aware of is that yes, this all works perfectly fine locally, but in a production environment, you will be using, and you should be using, some type of CDN in front of your site. So you may have issues where, because the file name hasn't changed, and if you're using something like Cloudflare, CloudFront, what else? Or even if you're using Varnish as well, it will cache these files. Now, I'm not going to go into great details on how to invalidate that type of cache because that's a whole other set of live streams, but that's just something to be aware of. So you may get a contact by the editor saying, oh, we updated the file, but it hasn't changed. And you look at the headers and you realize, oh, it's still being cached. So then you have to go in there and manually purge things. But that's just something to be aware of. Okay. So that is media entity file replace module. Now, two things, okay? First of all, it only works at the media entity level. If you were to place a file field on like an article content type, you won't be able to modify it. So it only works on media entities. So that's one thing to be aware of. And also the second thing is that if you were to use a file field or an image field on some other content type, it's not going to work. But I think right now, because media is supported in Drupal core, you should be using it. So use it for everything. And to me, I would go as far to say that if we click on this article, attaching a file field or image field directly to a content type isn't the correct way of doing things these days, I believe. Yeah, there may be a reason to do it, but there needs to be a good reason to do it. But I think from now on, use the media module and simply use an entity reference field. Because technically a file and image field are entity reference fields because files themselves are entities, believe it or not. Anyway, that's my ranting about using the media module. Okay, so the next module I want to show you is file replace. Now, I just mentioned that even if you use a file field or image field, it still references a file entity. So think of it like this. You have the main media entity, and then within that, you upload the actual file, which is a PDF, and that also has another file entity within it. Well, now, by using file replace, that goes one step further down the rabbit hole, if you'll call it, and that allows you to replace the files at the file level. So you could use file replace instead of media entity file replace because it goes one step deeper. It's, entity within an entity, within an entity, within an entity, kind of like Inception. Yeah. Okay. So let's have a look at this. But the thing with file replace is that the UI, the user experience for an editor isn't the best. It works okay, but I do prefer media entity file replace because for me, it just feels nicer. That's just my opinion. Okay. But this module is a worthy candidate if you are looking for a solution to replace files. So please check out this module, but it requires just a bit more configuration. So to learn about it, head over to drupal.org/project/file_replace. And I should also mention that there will be a tutorial coming out with both of these modules. I'm just now recording the video version of it. And I'm doing it live because I don't want to spend a night doing 10,000 takes of this. And this way I do, when I do a live stream, I just do one take and that's it. Okay, so to install this module, all you need to do is use Composer, of course. So let's go and clear this and type in Composer require Drupal/file_replace. And this should be pretty quick. And it's coming down, done. There you go. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Composer 2. Okay. And what this what this module actually does is it creates an actual route at this path. Okay, so let me just zoom in a bit more. What's this one, 2? Oh, I didn't even zoom in. Apologies for that. And it creates a route at this path. So admin/content/files/replace, and then you put the file ID. So if we go to back to our site, let's go to extend and let's search for file replace. And I'm going to be using this file. I will install this file replace module. This file replace shell exec. I haven't played with this submodule, but essentially what I believe this does is that it will fire off a shell command when a file is replaced. Now, I wouldn't install this on a module because, I wouldn't really install this unless you have a real need for it because it could, it is running commands on your server when a file is replaced. It's there, have a play with it. I don't take any responsibility what happens to your site, but it's there, okay? But we're just going to be focusing on file replace. So let's go and install it. Give that a second or two. And then once it's installed, go to content. And we're going to use this files page. Now, what is the difference between media and files? Remember when I mentioned that files themselves are entities? So a media is the media asset, but the files are the actual files on the file system that are attached to your media assets. That's why you can see user document underscore. This generic.pdf, I think this is part of the media module. And then we have website proposals. So a media entity references one of these file entities. So you can imagine if you have a content type which references a media entity, which then references a file entity. Yeah, there's multiple levels. So now we're dealing at the file level, not at the media level. That's the importance between the two. And here you can see all the way to the right, you can see used in column. And then if we click on one of these, you will see that we have this path up the top here. And now if we just type in replace, we can go ahead and then replace this file. Now, we can actually replace a file which is attached to a media entity. So as I mentioned earlier, you can actually use file replace instead of media entity file replace. But the UI, as I mentioned, isn't that great. Now, I wouldn't expect an editor to just jump in here and chuck in the path and change it. What we can do is we can go back. Let's go back. And let's go and edit the view. And all we're going to do is create a custom field, and that's it. So let's go here, and do I have my notes on this? No, I don't. That's terrible planning on my part. Terrible planning. I can figure it out. Can't be that hard, right? Okay. So let's create a new column, and we'll call this one, what is it? Custom text. And remove, we'll call this replace, and let's add in a path, replace. Oh, sorry, the text, replace. And so now if we scroll all the way down, you will see this column here, replace. And let's just reorder this. And so let's go also, and let's actually remove label. Do we need label? No, we don't. Okay, so we now have this. All right, so we have a new column here, and we have the text replace. You can call this whatever you want, edit, whatever you want really. Now, if we go into custom text, and then let's go rewrite styles, output this field as a custom link. And now what we need to do is grab this path, and then let's place this in. Because I do believe, where is it? Where are the pattern replacements? I'm looking for this as per pattern replacements below. Yeah, where is that? Just want to make sure it's all there. I cannot see that. Oh, here we go. Okay, up the top here. All right. So what this is doing is the file ID is getting passed in as a field. And I'll show that to you in a second. So essentially what this is doing is this is generating a path, which is admin/content/file/replace, and then it's using the actual file ID. And if you look up the top, you can see it right here. And then if we come along here, click on save, we now have this column here. And if we look closely, you probably can't see, but let me just click on replace. It automatically takes us to this path, and then it places the file ID straight away. This is just basic, view stuff. And this is the power of views, what you can do. So let's go now, and let me see which one I modified. Is it this one? Yeah, it is. Okay. Double check that. All right. Let's now go ahead and replace this using file replace. All right, let's scroll back. And what is that? Proposal. Okay. Go in there. Let's hope this actually works. Okay, let's go here. Version 3. Let's check out version 3. This is more of a honeycomb color, goldish. Version 3, you can see there. And then let's click on save. And then if we click on this, what's going to happen? It's still going to be version 2, because remember, it is cached. Hard refresh. Boom, there you go, version 3. And then if we go to content, media, website proposal, There you go, version 3. So that is it. So those are the two modules. Media entity file replace does it at the media entity level. File replace does it at the file entity level. So if you were to use the image field and file field directly on the content type, so a good reason to use file replace is if you were to use this article content type and you were using this image field and you want to replace the file in this image field, well then you can easily replace it using file replace. But media entity file replace only works on media files. So that is it from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more about Drupal, just head over to webwash.net where you can learn about all things Drupal and soon some other platforms, potentially WordPress. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.